On December 31, a news broke out over the internet about a then unknown virus that causes severe acute respiratory illness in Wuhan, China. This said report was from Dr. Li. The 34-year-old doctor had noticed 7 cases of a virus that he thought looked like SARS, the virus that led to a global epidemic in 2003. Because of this report of a then unknown virus, people from various social media started calling out the government to impose a travel ban from China. Reasons stated: Number 1, our country doesn't have the health care budget and the facilities to handle a virus outbreak. Number 2, most of our communities are congested and compressed, making it easy for the virus to possibly spread. Number 3, both the government and the people are not prepared for anything like this. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Pinello said, "There is nothing to worry about, and there's no need to ban people coming from China in our country." He said that we just need to stay healthy and boost our immune system. Meanwhile, several stories started spreading on various social media platforms. These stories were found out to be posted by bot-like profiles, and it was posted several times by different profiles. The said stories were about the encounters with either a group of Chinese nationals or a Chinese individual. It was then labeled as the "I'm sad" story. I do not need to go into details since you have read these stories for sure. One poster even claimed that it was her personal experience, but the copy-paste nature of the posts shows otherwise. During this time, the people from southern and central part of Luzon are just recovering from the recent volcanic eruption. That's why the public called out the government for the shortage of face masks. The government was also preoccupied by the cancellation of Senator Dela Rosa's visa by the United States of America, while the number of persons under investigation due to the virus in the country continues to rise. On the 30th of January, the first case of COVID-19 in the country was confirmed. A 38-year-old Chinese woman, who flew straight to the Philippines, from Wuhan, China where the virus started. There were also 29 persons under investigation, but Senator Bong Go insists that there's still no travel ban, and that people should not single out China, because by this time, the virus has already spread throughout various countries. As early as the end of January, the work-at-home setup was suggested by Senator Joel Villanueva. This is in regards to the growing number of persons under investigation for COVID-19 in the country. Meanwhile, the second case of COVID-19 in the country was confirmed on February 2. A 44-year-old Chinese man from Wuhan, China, where the virus started. He died on the 1st of February. It was the first recorded death due to COVID-19 outside China, and the first in the Philippines. Due to the rising number of persons under investigation for COVID-19 in the country, and the continuous public outcry for travel ban, the government declared the travel ban to people coming from China, Hong Kong, and Macau on February 2. 33 days since the news about the virus outbreak in China. By this time, the virus has already spread to other parts of the world, including the Philippines. President Rodrigo Duterte also insists that people should not blame China since they've always been good to us. After the third confirmed case of COVID-19 in the Philippines, which is a 60-year-old Chinese woman who also flew from Wuhan, China where the virus started, President Rodrigo Duterte assured the public that the government is prepared for the COVID-19, even for the worst-case scenario. While the number of persons under investigation continues to rise, the government were preoccupied by other issues such as the termination of the Visiting Forces Agreement with the United States, ABS-CBN contract renewal, and POGO. 6th of March, 2 new confirmed cases of COVID-19 was reported. Both of them are Filipino. A 48-year-old male who came from Japan, and a 62-year-old male, with no travel history but frequently visits a prayer hall. Taguig City Mayor confirmed that one of these two is an employee in Taguig City. Just a day after, the 6th case of COVID-19 was confirmed. It was the 59-year-old wife of the previously reported COVID-19 case. The local transmission has began. Due to the alarming number of confirmed cases from various cities in Metro Manila, several cities suspended their local government offices, and both private and public school operations. 9th of March, 38 days since the first confirmed COVID-19 case in the country, President Rodrigo Duterte finally declared the state of public health emergency. On March 12, it was announced that President Rodrigo Duterte and Senator Bong Go will be tested for COVID-19 after being exposed to an infected person during an inspection in North Luzon Expressway. Both are not showing any symptom, and presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said that this is just a precautionary measure to ensure that the president is healthy and fit to do his job. This was during the time when the country has a very limited number of test kits. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's wife tested positive for COVID-19, after being tested due to flu-like symptoms, after attending a speaking engagement in Britain. This is how Prime Minister Justin Trudeau handled being exposed to a COVID-19 positive.
One last question, just personally, and we're glad to hear it, by the way. And Sophie and the kids are okay, and your family's okay. Donald Trump said yesterday, he said, I've been tested as a leader. A lot of people are asking us, why hasn't our Prime Minister been tested? Why not?
Because the advice of our best public health experts is it's not worthwhile to test someone who is not showing symptoms. If it were to come back negative, it wouldn't mean anything, because I am in isolation right now and need to remain in isolation, and that uses up a testing kit that would be better suited for someone who is showing symptoms who should be tested. So the recommendation is, if you don't show symptoms, self-monitor, self-isolate if you feel you've been exposed, if you're told to, but there's no need to get tested until you're starting to show symptoms.
March 15, 44 days after the first confirmed case of COVID-19 in the country, and due to the growing number of COVID-19 positive from various cities, President Rodrigo Duterte declared the community quarantine in Metro Manila. Hundreds of commuters got stranded due to the limited mass public transportation, and the government was not able to anticipate this problem. The next day, without preparing the public, and without announcing a structured plan, the national government announced the enhanced community quarantine in the entire Luzon. The president clarified that this is not a martial law, and no one will be showing off their guns to the public. Due to the enhanced community quarantine, public transportation is completely suspended. Hundreds of employees that were still at work when the enhanced community quarantine is implemented are left with no choice but to either stay at their workplace or walk their way home. This could have been avoided if there was a structured plan before the enhanced community quarantine was implemented, and if the plan was explained to the public beforehand. The national government had 45 days since the first case of confirmed COVID-19 in the country to make up a plan in order to execute this community quarantine more efficiently and effectively. While not showing any symptom and already in self-isolation, Senator Zubiri tested positive for COVID-19 after being exposed to an infected individual who attended one of the Senate sessions. This happened while the country is in very limited access to COVID-19 test kits. Due to the growing number of government personalities asking to be tested even without symptom, one of the front-liners doing the tests leaked this information online. A public outcry ensued. The hashtag No to VIP testing was trending in various social media. The list includes the president and his family. Due to the enhanced community quarantine, both private and public employees were affected. Private companies, including BPOs, started the work-at-home setup for their employees, and some local governments suspended their operations. Informal workers were the ones that have been hit the most. Some local governments started to provide help and assistance, but since there's no structured plan from the national level, the difference between the politicians and the public servants started to surface. The ones who are affected the most? The poor Filipinos. President Rodrigo Duterte asked the Congress to grant him emergency powers to address the public health emergency situation. The said emergency powers includes full control of any privately owned businesses that affects the public interest, and reallocate the national budget to whatever deemed necessary. This was criticized by the public, stating that the president already have the power needed in order to handle the situation, and emergency power is not necessary. Because of this, the special power that the president was asking was regulated and a special bill was passed by Congress. Here is the Bayanihan to heal as one act, to its simplest form. One of the main focus of the said bill is to allocate a budget to help those people whose livelihood were the most impacted by the enhanced community quarantine. The requirements in order to qualify for the help from the national government were also unclear, and sometimes lays at the mercy of the local government officials. This sparks frustrations from the middle classes. Several online users questions why the national government is being selective in providing both financial help and relief goods, while the livelihood of the middle classes were also affected by the lockdown. As the month comes to an end, over 2 weeks after the Luzon enhanced community quarantine, the public is still waiting for the national government to announce a structured plan which the local government can follow in order for the enhanced community quarantine to be effective. Many people are still waiting for the help that they were promised, and the public is still in the dark on what to expect for the coming days. 1st of April, 21 protesters demanding food aid arrested in Quezon City. The protesters holding placards saying that they have not received any help from their local government. Instead of getting food aid, they were all arrested. Upon further investigation, it was found out that the 21 protesters does not belong to any leftist group according to the Quezon City Police Department. Later that night, the president addressed what happened and threatened that whoever tries to do the same will be shot to death. This caused huge discussions in various social media. Supporters of President Rodrigo Duterte defends that this only applies to the leftist groups which are stealing the relief goods. If you listen closely to the context of the message of the president, he was clearly talking about the said protest, and not about a recent relief goods stealing incident. In fact, there was no relief stealing by any leftist group was reported prior to the president's message. Lastly, he even mentioned a specific group of protesters that he thought responsible for the said protest.
So, kayong mga kadamay, wala nang awa-awa. Diyan na kayo. Ang nahuli, wala. I will not tolerate yung sabihin mo na bitawan, mga politiko bitawan. Do not play hero at this time because you would, I bet, or is it that word, to encourage people to violate the law.
If the president was talking about the NPA, he would have said it right away, instead of mentioning Kadame. If you understood the context of his speech, he was clearly upset about the staged protest earlier that day. Some argues that it was organized by the media as a propaganda against the government because of how quick the media arrived at the scene. They may not be aware that 3 giant TV networks are all in Quezon City. It's not about whether the protest was a propaganda or a spontaneous act out of hunger. It is how the president reacted about the incident.
Hindi to Marcelo, wag kayong matakot. Walang magdi-display ng baril dyan except yung mga member ng armed forces o police. Pati mga barangay na pagkaginulo at nagkaroon ng okasyon na lumaban at ang buhay ninyo ay nalagay sa alanganin, shoot them dead. Tindahan niya, patay. Kaysa maggulo kayo dyan, di ilibing ko na kayo.
A day later after the protest, the residents finally received their long-awaited food aid. The NBI released a subpoena to Pasig City Mayor Vico Sotto for a possible violation to the Bayanihan to Heal as One Act. Back in March, Mayor Sotto allowed tricycles within his city to operate, in order for the essential workers to get to their destination. He also pleads to the national government to allow this, because it will help both the tricycle drivers to continue their livelihood, and the essential workers to get to their destinations. When Mayor Sotto was told not to continue, he complied. A public outcry to protect Mayor Vico Sotto was trending in various social media. The public also called out the national government about the incident which Senator Coco Pimentel violated the quarantine protocol when he visited a hospital, and went to a grocery store while being a person under investigation, and later being confirmed positive to COVID-19. PACC Commissioner also wants to have the Vice President investigated due to allegedly competing with the government in providing help to the public. The Vice President was working non-stop, doing donation drives to help the frontliners. Due to the continuous public call-out, NBI later on clarifies that there will be no case against Mayor Vico Sotto. A case will be filed against Senator Coco Pimentel for the breach of quarantine protocol, and the vice president will not be investigated. President Rodrigo Duterte even fired the PACC official, and defended the vice president for her efforts. These just proves that the voice of the public is heard, and democracy is honored by the government, and the president could be willing to set aside their political colors. And ongoing discussions in various social media about the middle class being left out reached the attention of Cavite Governor Jonvic Remulla, resulting to his open letter to the national government. With this, the national government took action, and will include the middle class in receiving financial help. Due to the insistent public demand for mass testing, the national government started the mass testing in April 14. After constant pressure from the public, the National Action Plan against COVID-19 is finally in motion. The president also bared that he will be willing to sell some of the government properties to private sectors, if there will be any needs. The World Bank approved $500 million loan to the Philippines to help in fighting COVID-19. A news leak from Arnold Clavio about an alleged attempt to hide the real number of deaths due to COVID-19 in East Avenue Medical Center surfaced. Department of Health immediately clarified that there was no such orders from them. Since the extension of the community quarantine to April 30, the number of confirmed cases of COVID-19 continues to rise. Meanwhile, the president reported that an antibody is being developed. However, the Philippines will be most likely one of the lasts in line to receive it. The president also discussed a possible COVID-19 drug with Japan's prime minister in their recent virtual summit. He said that the Philippines will be willing to participate in clinical trials for possible vaccine. President Rodrigo Duterte also warns the public hospitals that whoever rejects patients of any illness will be reprimanded. President Duterte continues to thank and praise China for their support to the Philippines in fighting COVID-19. Meanwhile, the highest number of recovered patients per day was recorded on the 16th of April. Let us all do our part in fighting the COVID-19 by staying at home. Simply going out for a jog, or hanging out at a friend's house, puts everyone and anyone at risk. By doing so, we are just putting the sacrifices of the frontliners in vain. Doctors and health workers are dying around the world, trying to give us the freedom that we want for tomorrow. Let's not make it as if they died for nothing. Let us all continue to praise the government for their milestones, and at the same time do not be afraid to call out what needs to be. Remember, if the government fails, our country falls. Including you.